welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This week's episode is brought to you by XC's Exercise Services. Need help getting rid of things that go bump in the night? Feeling like you're trapped in a nightmare circle of unbelievable bad luck? Someone put a spell on you and not necessarily in a good way? Or maybe you just need some help exorcising those demons that tend to weigh us down. We got you. Just give us a call or check us out on the web at www.getthefuckout. If you can't get rid of it, then you are truly fucked. Tammy, you going to be trying out XC's exercise services?
No, but I thank them for their sponsorship.
You don't sound too excited. They helping keeping the lights on. You've never been haunted or feel like you've been haunted?
Nope.
Oh wow. We had a ghost, but that's a different story for a different day. Anyway, this week we dive into the world of The Witcher, which is about a powerful medieval monster hunter, Geralt, played by the ever so fine Henry Cavill, and Ciri, the even more powerful princess whom he's destined to protect from those who want to use her magic and power for their own ends. As Geralt struggles to accept his surprise destiny, he meets an all-powerful mage, Yennefer, who always seems to have her very own agenda. So Tammy, did The Witcher put a spell on you, or does it have you spouting curses?
The Witcher was a very, very good series. I binge watched the first season, and the second season, life got a hold of me and I wasn't able to binge watch it, but I was still like anticipating the next episode. So it was way better than I thought it was going to be when I first previewed it, because I didn't think I was going to watch it. It was going to be my type of show, but it turned out to be really, really good. And of course, we'll talk about why we consider it to be good.
That's it. Oh, I always thought that you like watched or you'd read the book series or something like that. Huh.
I don't read.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. It took me a while when it first came out. I watched the first episode or tried to I couldn't even get through the first episode the first time I tried to watch it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not about this life. It was slow going, and then everyone just kept saying how good it was, and I'm like, eh. And then I would hear more things about the way they did the timeline in the first season, and I was like, yeah, I'm not. But more and more people, everyday people, my friends, they kept saying how good it was. You kept saying how good it was, and so, and I kind of would keep up with it through spoilers and stuff. Reading different about the episodes, so I kind of knew what was going on. So I was like, okay, finally, we decided to put it on the list. I'm like, I'll check it out for myself. And once I got through the first couple of episodes, I was hooked. So I binged watched seasons 1 and 2, and I was just like, yeah, it lives up to the hype. It's a little slow getting into those first few episodes, but it does get into the hype. It does live up to the hype. So taking it, I guess we'll do it kind of chronologically. Season 1, what did you think about the wacky timeline? Like that kind of threw me off.
Yeah, and I agree. It took me a minute to realize that they were telling the story of before Ciri was even a thought in their minds, at the same time that they were telling of how we were seeing the journey of them finally coming together. So yes, it was very, very confusing. I had to like focus on it a lot, and I'll be like, okay, wait, ain't her grandma dead? Like, wait. Like, I had to wrap my mind around it. So it was definitely very, very, very confusing. I ended up going over to a friend's house, and I had asked her, like, hey, you watched The Witcher? And she was like, it's on my list, but I haven't gotten to it. So I was like, okay, we're going to sit down and watch it. And I agree with you. It took a couple episodes. By the 4th episode, like, she was fully in it. Like, she was like, oh my God, like, this is good. But she was also confused. I had to tell her, like, hey, it's 2 timelines at the same time, and it's going to come together the closer it gets to the last episode. So once she realized that, then she was just like, okay, all right. So I'm not as confused knowing that it's 2 things going on at the same time. But it definitely threw me off. Thank goodness for the second season, they didn't do that. Second season, they're up to present day. And then they're just going from there.
Yeah. Because that was one of the things I was always reading about before I actually went back to the first season. It's like they're so confusing, and I'm like, okay. And I think, gosh, the episode where Siri is, I think it's the episode where she's born or the one after she's born. It kind of all starts to make sense, and that's when you realize, oh, okay, this is the two different timeline things. But yeah, it kind of that threw me off, the different timelines. But and then I think during those different timelines, though, I'm going to be honest, my favorite ones were the ones that featured Yennefer. Like, she was one of the most compelling characters from the very beginning. I actually loved her journey. Did you like Yennefer?
Yeah, no, I she was one of my favorite characters, um, because there was a lot of character development for her from season one all the way up till the very very last episode in season two. Like I think like she was still growing as a person, and you know like to realize that over the series they're not like 30 something years old. Like they are decades and hundreds-year old. Like they're living for a very 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 long time. And so I loved her character development and how she was continuously growing as a person, from the very very beginning when we first meet her all the way up until I want to say like the last couple minutes of the last episode of season two. So yeah,
Yeah,
I really loved her journey.
because like her transformation, it like whoever is writing for this show, they do an amazing job. But whoever and they do an amazing job, especially with her character, because her transformation from the hunchback that she was, but even when she was a hunchback, like I don't think she realizes that the thing that she always wanted, or what she thought she wanted, is power. She always had it, because even as a hunchback, she owned who she was. She was, uh, she she thought, okay, if I looked a different way, like, I think what she was confusing in a lot of ways power and respect. And she thought, okay, if I'm beautiful, if I look more acceptable or respectable or like everyone else, then I will have the power. They will treat me differently. And they still sent her on the shittiest assignment, because she was elven. She had elven blood in her, So and the map dude, I don't remember his name, but I'm just gonna call him map dude. He loved her regardless. Like when she was a hunchback, when she did questionable things, you know, um, but I think his downfall was he always tried to change her in a sense. Like he accepted her for who she, if that makes sense, physically, but her ambition, I think, was a little bit much for him.
But she didn't get the ultimate power. See, I think with Yennefer, what I noticed was she realized that looks matter, and she had the um, power of being a mage, but she didn't have the type of power that she got until she changed her appearance, because she was given that she was supposed to be going to Nilfgaard when she was a hunchback. It was only once she took charge after she changed her physical appearance and she showed up that it was a whole different world that was opened up for her. Once she because when she walked into that party, when she walked into that what would they call it back then? I don't even know. But when she walked in to that room and all eyes were on her, I don't think she would have had the same effect if she had walked in as the hunchback that she was before she went through the whole thing. I just think she didn't realize what she ultimately really was giving up for the power that she got.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I also think she also wanted that respect.
Yeah,
That
I
that
agree.
that that comes along with that. But and she still carried a lot of that baggage and trauma from, you know, um her previous life into her current life. Um and So it was, and one of my favorite scenes is, or the episodes, is when she was guarding that woman, the princess or whatever, and her baby. And at one point, the princess just, like, the mask comes off and the princess just shows her ass. And so Jennifer's like, well, fuck you. I'm going to leave you here and take the kid. When she just created that portal
And left her there.
and
Yeah.
left her there. So I was just like, oh, wow. So it was like, she was one of those characters where you, because when it first started off, I thought she was like, I wasn't familiar with the books or, you know, any of that. So I thought Yennefer was going to be one of the bad guys. And there were times when she made some questionable decisions, but I love the way that she turned out. And her emotional and her mental transformation was really good. Siri grew on me. The first season, she was annoying AF. Like I was like, okay. And I guess because it was a little, it was like we said, the dual timelines. It was a little confusing about how she played into it, but the first season, she was kind of annoying. Like I I was least interested in her storyline the first season. I knew she was an integral part of it, but, or I should say, the first half of the season. I really didn't start caring about Siri till the point where I knew that her path was going to start colliding with Geralt. That was just me. Because I don't know, she was just the little powerful girl lost in the woods who kept doing stupid shit, and But what about you?
I loved her, and the reason why is, and I've mentioned this in other shows that we have talked about and other movies that we've talked about, is one thing I loved about Siri is the mistakes that she was making were typical teenager mistakes. Because she was a teenager, so she never had all the information. She made decisions more on her emotions than logically thinking it through. I think a perfect example of that was when Vesemir was talking to her, and she said, okay, I'm good with you using my elven blood to make witchers, but I want to be the first one that you try this on. And he was like, are you sure? And she's just like, yes. So even without thinking of it, but then you get to realize why she wanted to do it. It was more on, she wanted to have that ultimate connection with the one man that she considered to be her father. And so when Geralt finally showed up and he actually talked her out of it, all I kept thinking was, she made a teenager decision. Like, without having all the information, without fully thinking it through, without even taking into consideration the fact that more people died from becoming witchers than the ones who actually survived. That's the reason why they weren't as many in numbers as before. I just think she was a teenager and she made some dumb mistakes as a teenager. But then you also have to look at Yennefer. I think Yennefer also made some very selfish decisions as she was growing into her power. And she only thought of herself before she thought of anybody else. And that goes back to how she grew up, what kind of life that she had, how it affected her because of how she was treated, because of how she looked. But she also made some very selfish decisions as she was growing into her power. And I think Siri, being not knowing who she really was, also made a lot of those mistakes.
Yeah. By the second season, I was all in on Siri. Like, I liked her. She grew on me. But the first season, the first part of the first season, I guess when they were all still split and they weren't really connected, she just, I was really least interested. Like, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, can we just get her to Geralt already? Like, I really wasn't interested in her story the first part of the season. And I guess maybe that was because of the disconnect. Then once I realized, even before they got together, how it was connected, I guess it goes back to that separate timeline thing. Once I realized, I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I knew she was the one that Geralt was supposed to find in, the girl in the woods, but it didn't really quite make sense. And then once the dots started being connected, I'm like, oh, okay. So she's going to be more than just a little damsel in distress. And so that was, but by the second season, I was all in. Like I loved her relationship with Geralt. I love that she also started to grow into her power. And yeah, and she did make typical teenage mistakes. And that didn't bother me. I guess it was just the first part where she was just, and it was acceptable because she was the whiny princess. She was used to being catered to. Hell, she was the heir apparent to the throne in this kingdom that was basically blown off of the map. So I got that, but it just bored me. So I'm glad that there was so much more to her than what we initially got the first half of the first season, because I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I had no vested interest in her at all. Like I said, the first part of the first season, her stories were the ones that I found the least interesting. What did you think about the troubadour? I loved him. I don't know his name. I just call him the troubadour.
Who?
Geralt's Geralt's,
The
but
bard?
yeah, the
The singer?
bard. Yeah, the troubadour. That's what I call him.
Oh,
Um,
he was
Geralt.
hilarious. Throw a
Yes,
coin to your Witcher. Loved it. It's a hit song. It was a hit song. It's number one on the Billboard charts. Number one on the Billboard charts. Like,
he
I like how
he knocked off BTS.
yeah, definitely knocked on BTS. I loved how it was kind of like he was that annoying person that wormed his way into Geralt's life, and then he was just a staple in his life for many many years. Because that's another thing. Like, besides the confusing timeline, it's also the fact they don't tell you how many years have been between one episode to the next. So you don't realize like they were together for years, just traveling across the continent for years. Um, and so no, but I loved him. Like, he was hilarious. He was hilarious. I loved him in the first season, and then I loved him in the second season. One of my favorite scenes is when Geralt comes and gets him, and like he's just talking, and Geralt's just standing there like, all right, come on. And he was just like, yeah, I missed you too.
Yeah,
And then Geralt finally admits, like, I missed you. Like, I love that because it shows like they had a bond, even as he annoys the hell out of him all the time. He still like really cared about him, which goes into the fact that they said Witchers didn't have emotions or feelings, but that was a lie. They actually did have emotions. They did have feelings. They weren't cold blooded, like they weren't cold hearted or anything like that. It just took a real special bunch of people to bring it out in Geralt.
yeah. Like I love Bard the troubadour, who would make up a song about anything. I loved his Witcher song, the vengeful Witcher song about, and
Oh, when he
then
was in the bar.
yeah, and then the
Yeah.
one time you see that the tear like cry, like he wanted to cry, and he was comic relief, but he also spoke a lot of truths. Like I loved him, and like you said, the way he just kind of how he begrudgingly became Geralt's BFF, because it was just like, how did this little parasite become my friend? And then you realize that he is one of the most important people in your life. Like he is your sidekick, and so I love that. And I loved his relationship with Yennefer, like how he called her out. He was still scared of her power, but he called her out. Like they had that I hate you because you're dating my best friend type vibe. And I hate you because you're the guy that I love. You're his idiotic best friend. So they had that kind of vibe going on. And I so I guess since I gave it away, what did you think of Geralt and Yennefer as a couple?
Um, I'm still I'm still developing my thoughts on that. I just like Siri is his destiny, I do think ultimately Yennefer was his destiny as well. And it, so I love the fact that he finally realizes when she betrays him, because that's ultimately what she does. When she betrays him, before she realizes exactly who Siri is to him, um, even as like he's like, oh, I'll kill you if I need to, but he knows that he needs her. And so it's like Siri's my destiny, but ultimately we're each other's destiny as well. Um, so I think it's like still I'm still on the fence about it. Like I don't I know I like them together, and then other times I think more of Jennifer's selfishness um just irks my soul sometimes. Um because of the fact that she's so focused on certain things that she gave up in order to get the power that she has, and that is what her focus is. So she makes some very very selfish decisions, and ultimately it affects Gerald more than anyone else. And so when she makes those decisions, I hate it. But when she's realizing like how much he means to her, then I'm just like, all right, I'm down for that. But it's all on when, as long as she's not betraying him still. Like I hope that this is the point where she realizes how um important she is to him, but also that he is to her, and she stops making those selfish decisions just based on what she wants in life.
Yeah, because what I don't think she realized is that her losing her power, it was a more or less a mental thing, and that the evil mage, the one that had been blocked off or whatever, she was basically playing on in the second season, playing on her worst fears, and
Yeah.
she didn't get her power back until she was truly willing to sacrifice herself for the greater good. So it was nothing that you did that this mage promised you that was going to give you your power back. And if you would have followed through on the deal, whatever power you had, it would have been it would have come with too many strings. I'm thinking that would have been like nothing but pure evil, you know. So yeah, I agree. I do when they're it's like when it was like it's like one of those relationships when it's good, and I love seeing it. Like I think they're great together when it's good, but when it's bad, it's like fucking toxic, like nuclear waste dump toxic. And a lot of that is because of her selfishness and her not being able to get out of her own way.
Right.
uh, but I loved when he met the map dude, and he realized that, oh, he was one of, when Siri was asking him, how do you know each other, he goes, this is my good my good friend. And then he tells her, and I met another one of your good friends. Like I was like, oh, because when he realized, he said, oh, you loved her. He goes, I still love her, I've always loved her. I'm like, oh shit, I was like, is Geralt gonna chop off his head? But
Nah, no,
nah.
but when he said, he was like, oh, you know Yenna, and he was like, Yen.
Like pissing match, whip them out, boys, see who's bigger.
Oh my god. But okay, so what I will say is, because I'm sure like that's gonna be one of the things. One of my favorite scenes out of both seasons, just across the series period, is the Gold Dragon episode.
Oh yeah.
When her and Geralt get into the full argument, and they literally hit each other below the belt because they know they can. Ultimately, that's how relationships work sometimes, right? You get so pissed off that you just want to hurt the person as much as you're hurting. And so when he basically throws in her face that the only her whole motivation is to get back to the point where she can have a child, and he's just like, yeah, you not mother material. Like that's basically what he told her. Like, you not mother material, but you trying to fight so hard to be able to have a child. Why? And so, and then when she throws out, I'm not going to take advice from somebody who got a child surprise and then gave her up as soon as you realized that that was your surprise that you asked for. And so I was just like, oh wow, like I think that was the one of the most powerful like conversations that they had together, that really hit deep but needed to be said. Like it needed to be said, because I think ultimately that kind of opened his mind more to the fact of saying like, you can't fight going after Siri. Like you need her. Like you need to find her and protect her at all costs. Like that is your kid. Like she doesn't have parents. You need to protect her. That's your child. So I really, really love that scene that they had. What about you?
I agree. And that, as you said, that's the callus that put him. That is the thing. That is the moment. That was like that where you see the gears switch, and it clicks that I have to go after this child. Because after that episode, that's when his focus changed, and he did go. His mission was to find her.
Yes.
and to fulfill his destiny, whatever that was. It's like you said, he stopped running from it. And I guess especially after the genie and he couldn't sleep. Well, they met with the genie. Um, I love that episode. I also love the episode, one of my favorite episodes, and I believe this was also from season one. After he did find Siri, or was it the first part of season two, where they went to stay with his friend before they got to the Witcher compound?
Oh, that's season two. Yeah.
Season two, when they went to stay with his friend, and I forgot what you called the spirit, but I was thinking, um, and his friend, where he wasn't completely honest, but he had fallen in love with that spirit. I forgot what you call them, but how
Basically, she was a monster. Let's just call her a monster.
yeah, how she was drinking off of him, but she had his permission. And I'm like, dude, and I'm thinking, and then he hated Geralt for doing his job in protecting Ciri. But I'm like, if you would have been honest and told them, then maybe if you could have controlled your monster, because the monster was going to drink off of Ciri. Like, there was no way. And I don't think she would have stopped. And so I'm just like, yeah, but that was one of my favorite episodes too, was like, um, and I was like, okay, y'all all love him. Y'all all want him to do something. But when he kills the monster, y'all all hate him. I'm like, what the fuck? He can't win for losing. And I
At
also,
all.
and I love in season two, now that we're fully into season two, I love how the Witchers took Ciri under their wing. Like, first it was begrudgingly, but then after that, they just how they became so protective of her, and how they encouraged her to keep trying. um Garrett, at one, he was the protective father who didn't want her to get hurt, and who wanted to take her training slow, but her being that headstrong teenager who wanted to do things at her own pace and didn't want to be held back. When they were encouraging her to do the Witcher maze, like, I love those moments with her and her Witcher brothers or Witcher uncles and stuff like that. And then the grandpa, I guess we'll call him the head dude. What was his name?
Vesemir.
Vesemir. We'll call him Grandpa. He was like the father. He's like the daddy Witcher. But I love that little Witcher family that they had created.
I agree. I agree.
Um,
I thought it was, and I love the fact that, like, because Gerald was willing to do whatever was necessary. He was gonna. He was like, he was like, I'll take any of y'all out if y'all try to hurt her. But when he was persuading them, this is still Siri. Like, we still need to get her back. We can get her back. And when they agreed to help him, and then when he started calling to her to come back to fight the spirit that was inside of her, and then they all started doing it as well. Like, I thought that was just so powerful, because even as she wanted to stay with her parents, she knew she had to go back to Geralt. Like, she knew Geralt was her future. Like, he was her dad. He was the one that was going to raise her. And I love how fast their bond was created. Like, I love how fast their bond was created, and how she says he's the father that he's the only father I've ever known. Like, he's basically her dad, and he acted as her dad. Like, that was his child, and he was going to raise her, which goes along with the last scene with him and Yennefer, when basically he tells Yennefer he's the dad, but he basically tells Yennefer, you're going to have to be her mother. And I was just like, oh shit, so she got the child that she always wanted? Look at that.
yeah.
Look at that. Like, you've been fighting for this the whole time, and now look at that. Like, because he knows he needed Yennefer to train her, because Yennefer was the most powerful mage that he'd ever met in his life. So he knows that Ciri needs to be trained in her power, and Yennefer is the best one to do it. And so begrudgingly, he realized, I need you. So you're going to have to step up and do what I need you to do. And Yennefer says, all right. And then they walk into the sunset.
Yeah. Like, I love how, and it does, for me to talk about some of the other things that happened in season two. I love that it came full circle, because that's the one thing that says, like, look, she finally got her family. Like, ultimately, once she got past the whole power dynamic, and I think she started to realize, hey, I have all the power. I am truly powerful. It became about the other thing that they took from her, which at the time, her just being so single-minded on what she wanted, she knew what she was giving up, because he made it very clear, if we do this, you will not be able to have kids. And she was like, I don't care. But over time, it's like she did care, and she's like, okay, they can, there's a way they can undo it. But so I was like, she did ultimately get her family. So I'm hoping, I'm with you, I'm hoping that she's done with the betrayal part of it, because that would break both of their hearts, and they are going to need her. um they are going to need her, and we'll get to that in just a moment. What did you think about the elves? I thought it was fucked up when they killed the baby. Like,
Oh, oh, you mean the elf baby?
yeah.
Because I want to say, like, Francesca was my girl. All right, because when they killed her kid, and she was just like, oh no, let me show them what real power looks like. And when she went through that whole town and she had all the babies crying, and then she put her hands down and it was silence for a couple seconds before that woman yelled, my baby. I was like, oh shit, y'all fucked up. You pissed off the wrong one. So I thought it was so sad what they did to the baby. Really, really sad. But ultimately, all of this stuff leads to Siri. It all leads back to Siri, and Siri is the key to solving all of this. So I just hope that the elves, um, it doesn't take them a long time to like get connected with Siri and to kind of figure out what their part is in this whole journey that they're all on.
Because I know Yenna knows she's part elf. Siri knows that she's part elf. Um, but it so eventually, like in season 3, okay, we have to get to it. Season 3, uh, okay, the end of season 2. So the bombshell at the end of season 2, the man who is behind, what was the kingdom's name? The people,
Nilfgaard.
Nilfgaard. The man in the head mother clucker in charge of Nilfgaard, Siri's real dad. What the fuck? I was mind blown. I did not. I kind of figured at some point maybe her parents were alive, but I thought they were in hiding. Um, I thought maybe it would be both of them. I thought they were in hiding. I thought maybe her mom had flipped on them again, or maybe ultimately her mom had them killed. I don't know, but my mind was blown. Like, I was like, what the fuck? I was not expecting that. I was at maybe expecting them to still be alive and hiding somewhere, for her protection. I was not expecting her father to be the one behind all of the destruction. What about you?
I agree. I agree. I was very, very surprised that it ultimately became that the emperor was her father.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm just knowing in season 3 that that is a story to be told. What happened to her parents on the boat? How he survived? What happened to her mom? And why is he hell bent on destroying his daughter? Well, he's not really destroying
He's not trying to destroy her. He's
destroy
trying
her,
to get her.
get her. So I was just like, okay, why wasn't she on the? So it's just so many questions. So what are you looking forward to in season 3? Like,
Season 3, I'm looking forward to Yennefer training Ciri, just like how she was physically trained by the Witchers. I am looking forward to Yennefer training Ciri with her powers and her magic. Because even when oh my god, I forgot what the other woman's name, the other mage's name was, but I feel like she was being very kind about it and trying to train it in the way that Aretusa trained her. But Yennefer is the one like, I'll train you in your real power. Not listening to what they tell you, but I'll train you in the real way. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is the relationship developing and her training her in her real powers, as well as figuring out like how ultimately is all of this connected to Ciri. How is Ciri the ultimate goal for every single group that has been introduced?
and those who have not, like, we know the underground witch. I'm just gonna call her that. The underground witch needed her to set her free. But even as she got back to her timeline or her dimension or whatever, what Geralt saw there, it scared him. And he's like, and she's not done. Like, she's not dead. She's coming back. Like, she wanted to go there for a reason. So we know that we're probably going to see her some more. Again, I'm so interested in finding out her father, her real father, the Emperor's backstory, like how he survived all of that, why he had it to destroy Sintra. Was it all part of a plan all along? Like, there are just so many questions about that. That had me blown. The elves. Is Francesca going to kill her BFF? Is her BFF, her former BFF, her former Nilfgaardian BFF? Um, because before old dude came back, they were on the verge of creating something really kind of cool. And then I know she's going to feel betrayed because she's not going to believe that she didn't have anything to do with the death of her daughter. She's just not. So I'm so interested in season 3. I actually cannot wait. It was really really good. All right, so you got anything else before we rate this?
No, let's rate it.
All right, so what are you rating the Witcher seasons 1 and 2 so far?
I am going to rate it a 4.0. I am super, super excited about season 3. Can't wait to see what else develops of the story. But yeah, like, I'm anticipating. They're taping it right now, and I cannot wait for it to premiere. What about you?
I great minds. I also gave it a 4.0. I cannot wait to see the continuation of season 3. I love it. It is one that has definitely grown on me. I'm actually thinking I might watch the prequel. The one about I think the first prequel spin-off series is about the witches or the mages. So I don't know how far I'm going to dive into the Witcher universe, but I might give the prequel a shot too. And those of you who may be a little skeptical about the first season and the first few episodes, trust me, once you get past that and just go in knowing that there are dual timelines, the majority of the first season, then it is so much better. So I highly, highly recommend that you all give it a try. All right. Well, I guess that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and or Spotify Podcasts. Can we still say that, Spotify? We'll talk about that later. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at the Popcorn Wind Down. Please stay tuned for the new and improved version of the popcornwinddown.com coming to you. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop.
Pop, pop.
Pop. I need to hire a mage to get me my dang on sound effects.
There you go. See? That's what you need to do.
We're going to see. I might need to call Xy's exercise services to see if they can put a spell on you to get me my sound effects. Only a good spell, though. All right. So thank you as always. And be sure to join us next week when we discuss Naomi. I am so excited to talk about that show with you and to see what you think. Have you watched it yet? Have you seen any episodes yet?
Nope.
Oh, wow. I really, really can't wait. So that does it for now. Until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.